Okay, so this is our month's refresher. We'll start at the start, really. Our strategy DNA goes along with the strategy guide that we created some time ago. And I suppose we've got to ask why we are talking about strategy. And it's not just because it's in our name. We find that it is really the kind of the basis of everything that we do, and hopefully every business does. And the word strategy, I believe, is overused and sometimes used in the wrong context and what have you. So sometimes people say, oh, what's your strategy for increasing engagement on social media or something like that? Or what's your strategy for this ad campaign or what have you? Whereas really it's kind of like it's a tactic or it's a campaign. It's not really a strategy. So you could probably have a look at the dictionary and see what is a strategy. And it would say a plan that is intended to achieve a particular purpose. Okay. So a plan that is intended to achieve a particular purpose. But then again, you ask some of those experts in the strategy field, and they say the biggest problem with the way organizations think about strategy is they confuse strategies with plans. So Anne Latham says it isn't a plan. Oxford Dictionary thinks it is. So there is not really one definition of what a strategy is. The word is used too many times, and therefore people don't really know what it's all about, I don't think, a lot of the time. And also 85% of leadership teams spend less than an hour per month on strategy, and 50% spend no time at all on strategy, according to the Harvard Business Review in 2015. Now, that was obviously quite some time ago, but I don't really think times have changed too much. So you have a look at this and you have a look at that, and then you might be a little confused. So this is why we're talking about strategy today. Hopefully clear things up, make it a lot simple, try and make it, I mean, if it's simple enough for me, it's going to be simple enough for you, I think. So first of all, like, how many strategies is a business going to have? So I would suggest you have one strategy per annum for a business, and you would have a strategy probably for every department you have within a business. So big business, corporate businesses like M&S will have a strategy for their food, for their clothing, maybe for the UK, global, and they'll break it down like that. They'll probably have like a finance strategy and HR strategy, but they're all in a hierarchy. So it's got to be business strategy first and everything else trickles down. So you can't make a strategy for your department in isolation. You have to understand what the business strategy is. Otherwise, all departments are going to do their own thing, and the business strategy as a whole is not going to succeed. So small businesses like ourselves, we have one business strategy, and then we'll have a strategy for, say, digital marketing, really. We'll only have maybe 2 or 3. There'll be other businesses that will have a strategy for recruitment, maybe, because they've got to grow significantly. So that's kind of one strategy per annum, and that's it, really. And then you're only really looking to report on that on a monthly basis, and maybe review and maybe tweak that strategy maybe every quarter, something like that. So not too many, otherwise it gets a bit too complex. And if you do kind of try to revise your strategy too often, then you fall short of this. So you can't allow your strategy to become reactionary. It should be visionary. So you set out a strategy, and if it doesn't seem to be playing out after 4 weeks, you can't be changing that strategy significantly because you just haven't had time to let it play out. You've got to see sort of longer term that with the strategy. And therefore, we do have it a lot. People will ask for data on a regular basis and try to change too much too soon. And you're just literally not letting the strategy play its true course, because you're maybe looking at the data too often and in too much detail, and taking actions on that. So we've simplified the strategy into a DNA, okay? Strategy DNA. So what does DNA stand for? It stands for diagnose, navigate, and act. So we're going to take each 3 steps slowly. So the diagnose stage, this is just basically trying to understand the lay of the land. Okay, so you can't make any changes, you can't make any actions, you can't make any guesses until you understand where you are, and then you've got to understand where you're going. Okay, so the first step of understanding the lay of the land is just having an understanding of your brand. So making sure that you have a company positioning statement. What is a company positioning statement? All of those here on the call should know, but it is integral to the business, understanding the business about what it delivers, who to, how, and why. Okay, so what, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific product or service. It could be the value. What value are you offering people? So, you know, Rolls-Royce, probably what is not a car, probably it's luxury. It's a lifestyle or what have you. And who is then obviously understanding in a bit more detail about your buyer personas. So how do you describe your customers? And that's quite hard sometimes because you think, well, we've got 100, we've got 1,000 different customers. They're not all the same, but there are certain traits and attributes that would resemble the majority, the key bunch of customers that you have. Are they ambitious? Are they conservative? Are they young, aspirational? What is it that kind of joins them together? What's that commonality that you would do to describe your key buyer personas? And I say key because you'll have, as I said, you might have 1,000 customers, and you might have some complete opposite customers, but that you have the majority of similarity, and you can kind of forget about those at the fringes. Just concentrate on your key buyer personas, your key customers, and how to describe them. And then how. So how do you deliver on the value? How, so if you're delivering, you know, luxury lifestyle, for example, so how are you going to deliver on that promise? Is it, how do you do it differently from other people? How do you do it better than other people? How do you think you do it particularly well? So again, a lot of businesses are probably thinking, well, you know, there's 1,000 of our businesses, you know, we're all the same. But you're not. If you really think about it, and this is what we do within part of our branding piece, we go into quite some detail, asking a lot of questions, and especially small businesses will be really, it's the owners really that are integral to the business. It's why they set the business up. So this is why we come onto the why. So why are they in business? You know, if you took money out of it, which is quite hard to do sometimes, because every time you say, well, why have you got the business? It's like, well, to make money, it's to retire early, it's to provide for my children, it's this, that, the other. But if you take the money out of it, you know, there are other reasons people are in business. And why are you in that business? You could be making money in all sorts of business. So why are you in business in that particular business? Oh, because I'm good at this. Right. Okay. So we're getting somewhere. So why are they in that kind of business? And obviously Simon Sinek with his Golden Circle of Why, you'll find this on YouTube. I think it was a TED Talk. Lots of people have seen it. And he gives Apple as the example, a really good example of a brand that has, you know, smashed its industry in terms of, let's call it mobile phones. They go across various industries, don't they? Computing as well as mobile phones. But I can't think of another brand that is probably seen as a premium brand, which I think everybody could agree on, that Apple is a premium brand. Yeah, I can't think of another more expensive computer or more expensive phone out there. I'm sure there are, but I've never heard of them. And yet they are the most successful as well. So success as in, you know, the amount of market share, the amount of cash in the bank, the amount of revenue, whatever what you want to look at it, they are probably the most successful as well. And I've never seen another brand that is the premium brand and the most successful. So if you look at Rolls-Royce, are they most successful? No, not at all. I think they're probably nearly gone bust. Same with Bentley and all the other luxury cars, and Ferrari, they've been bought out by the likes of Fiat and all the other kind of the kind of car brands out there. So it doesn't matter what. I think the only other one I've thought of is probably Dyson. I don't really know their revenue and cash in bank and all the rest of it, so I don't know if they are the most successful vacuum cleaner out there, but they're probably another brand that might come close to it, something like that. But if you look at any other industry, typically the premium brand is never the most successful. But Apple have managed to do it. Why have they done it? It's because they've understood their why. What is their why? It's to question the status quo. So you're thinking, okay, question the status quo. Why is that so important? Like, why is that making a brand the most successful brand in the world, sort of thing? Well, it's because if you think about it, that is why they produce products that everybody is always excited to hear about, and they're always queuing up around the corner to get the latest phone, to get the latest computer, or whatever. Is because they have innovated, and it doesn't matter what they put their mind to, they kind of start from a blank canvas and think, right, okay, well, what are we going to do? If you say mobile phone, other brands might go, well, this technology exists, why don't we make it faster or better or quicker or cooler or something like that? Whereas Apple, when they built the iPhone, they started from scratch. They have no buttons. So this is why they create products that really do set them apart. And that's why they are such a big brand, because they knew their why. And that basically guides everything that they do. So that why is really, really important, and making sure that that is clear to the business and all the business decisions are in line with that. And if it is, then obviously you've got kind of brand clarity and business clarity, which makes your business stand out and set apart from all the other competitors, which is half the trouble. So that is the position statement, which is really, really important. This is an example. So we drive, we increase, I should say, write this out. We increase revenue for small, ambitious businesses with holistic digital marketing strategies because we succeed by growing others. So the why is we succeed by growing others. Why is that important? Because if we know our success relies upon the growth of our clients, that should really focus our minds in understanding that everything that we do for our customers, it's all about growing them. So if we're doing social media for them and creating cool stuff, how does that grow the business? How does that grow our clients? It's everything that we're doing, we should always be asking, like, how is this growing our clients? And hopefully knowing that and questioning ourselves all the time, every time we're writing a blog, every time we're doing an email, how is this going to help grow our clients? Then if we keep asking it, there's more chance of us actually delivering something that's going to make a difference and help grow our clients. So that's our positioning statement. And an example of where it does make a difference. And we notice it because we actually got it wrong in this instance. So Copper and Ash, we've helped create the sort of the brand messaging. We've done all the digital marketing. We've helped grow that business quite considerably. But it was really very successful. And then the company was we were discussing of where to grow the business, and we were thinking about, well, London would be ideal because this particular agency, commercial interior design agency, is a small agency focusing on, so we understand who they're targeting, and they're targeting independent businesses in and around Birmingham, West Midlands, Yorkshire, these kind of places. So they're targeting independent businesses that haven't got a huge budget and are looking for really high expertise, but just not a big agency price tag. So that's who they are focusing on. But we kind of forgot about that. And we said, well, London seems like a great place. They'll have lots of independent brands, and they'll be looking for a good value, really high expertise, but not looking to pay, say, London agency prices. So that seemed on its own to be a good place to go. So we created an ad campaign for it. We created a landing page for it. We put like London address on the, virtual address on the website, all this kind of stuff. But by doing so, we noticed that although I think they did get a couple of inquiries from people in London, all the other inquiries from the rest of the country just suddenly dried up. The reason being is that their core target audience that were independents looking for a good deal didn't want to deal with an agency that offers in London, because instantly they're thinking, well, these guys are going to cost too much, that we don't want to deal with them. So literally within 2 weeks, we could see that the inquiries are sort of dropping off, or the quality of inquiries were dropping off. And we had a chat with them. We're trying to figure out what was going on here. And within a couple of weeks, we thought, right, I think it must be the only change we've made is this whole London address and London landing page and stuff. So we literally took it off, and a week later, they started getting their inquiries coming in. So it just shows how it's so important. But and if you don't follow your positioning statement, understand who you're targeting, all the rest of it, remembering that, and if you do go off of that, then you can do some damage to your marketing, to the growth of the business. So then we go on to, once you understand your positioning statements, and having like a SWOT analysis. Okay, so we've done an example here because we're a digital marketing agency. We've done a SWOT analysis, for example, a really basic one of somebody's digital marketing. Okay, so from a business perspective, it'll be different. You know, your strengths could be something to do with internal resources. It could be locality. It could be cash balance. All these kind of things. But in terms of digital marketing, a SWOT analysis would be things like strengths. Well, we've got a 3% conversion rate on the website, which is by industry standards pretty good. 10% Facebook engagement, really good. Okay, so these are strengths. Weaknesses could be little organic traffic, few online reviews, poor Google rankings, these kind of things. Opportunities, database, maybe the company isn't using their database to the full extent. Content, there just hasn't been any content marketing yet. Referral schemes, no referral schemes yet. Google Shopping, so it might be an e-commerce site, but they haven't set up Google Shopping yet. So these are opportunities for them. And threats could be, for example, misuse of AI. So AI is massive at the moment. Everybody's talking about using ChatGPT and all the rest of it to literally just run the business pretty much. If you could believe all the things out there about AI, you could pretty much do nothing and let it do it, all the work itself. But if you did, it would be a big mistake because, from using it, you can understand that it can be really bad at doing what it's supposed to be doing. So that is a risk, that you try and put all your eggs in the AI basket. Misuse of a database. So again, going overboard of trying to use a database, maybe you haven't got permissions, or maybe you're trying to email people too much, or what have you. And the threat of your competition building its domain authority, for example. So your competition might be doing a really good job in terms of digital PR, getting their name out there, building their brand. And that's a threat if you're not going to do something similar. So that SWOT analysis doesn't need to take you days to try and figure out. Okay, you could spend definitely half a day and you can figure out the SWOT analysis of your digital marketing. Okay. So once you know where you are, you've got to figure out where you want to go. So you've got to set out some SMART goals. And we've all heard of the SMART terms. So specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time specific. And I've highlighted the realistic because it doesn't have to be realistic. Okay, so some conservative businesses would like to have a realistic goal. We want to increase growth by 15-20% this year. Okay, that would be maybe realistic. But there's some businesses out there that would like to say, well, actually, no, we want to double growth this year, and we're going to set 100% growth this year. And you're thinking, well, that really isn't realistic because we've never achieved that before. We've never come close. So it's not realistic. However, if you do set an unrealistic, a big challenge, it does make a business think out of the box. Like, okay, well, if we are going to do that, how are we going to do that? So you've got to start thinking about, do we need extra budget for advertising? Do we need extra salespeople to actually deal with the leads that come in? If we do get the business, do we need extra resources? How are we going to do recruitment? All this kind of stuff. So you put all this thought process into it, and then you implement it. And now it doesn't mean you're going to reach the 100% target that you set out, but you'll probably do better than 15-20%. So that is an alternative. And I think there was a case study. One of the things that I learned from my marketing degree 25 years ago, I think, was this particular case study. I think it was an aerospace, and maybe it was Boeing. I think they were trying to build a jumbo jet. Typically took them 6 months or 9 months to build a jumbo jet, and then some clever clogs come in and said, well, actually, no, we're going to do it in 3 months. And everybody's like, well, we can't do it in 3 months. Boeing's been going about 50 years, and we haven't been able to do it for less than 9 months in all that time. They didn't get it down to 3 months, but they got it down to 5 months, and they would have never have set that goal unless they did that challenge and start thinking outside the box. So, you know, set out some smart goals, something like this. I told you there was a glitch happening in my presentation today. There we go. So smart goals in terms of digital marketing, it could be something like, right, we want to increase Facebook inquiries by 2 every month. It could be achieve an average of 5 referrals per month. So if you're trying to do a referral campaign from existing customers, then that could be something. 5% increase in organic traffic month on month. So at the end of the year, that would be a significant increase in organic traffic. Increase website conversions from 1% to 2%. And I think this is something a lot of people forget. So people will spend a lot of money trying to drive traffic through to the site, but they don't pay too much attention on the conversion rate of the website. So if they could simply, and I say simply, it's not that simple, increase the conversion rate from 1% to 2%, they would obviously overnight double the amount of return that they're getting. And you think, well, is it easier to increase the conversion rate of the website from 1% to 2%, or is it easier or less expensive to double the amount of traffic overnight? I would suggest it's probably easier to increase the conversion rate by 1%. Increase SQLs, sales qualified leads, by 10% each month. So these are the kind of smart goals that you would lay out. They're quite specific, they're time specific, and by having these in place, I think it holds everybody sort of accountable to what they're trying to achieve. Everybody knows they're on the same place and they know what's expected of them. And this is an example of setting out goals and how it works for business. This is our sales targets. So it goes all the way back to, I can't remember, 2012 or something, all the way to today. And you can see we were growing, but then it sort of plateau. And then maybe I sort of gave myself a kick up the arse and said, no, right, we're going to set some targets out here. And I put the targets actually within this spreadsheet that I've got. And you can see this goes up here. So that seemed to work wonders. And I'm not saying just because I set a target, that means it happens, but it just gives some focus. And we have a dip here. So I think that would be what you call a pandemic. So we did have to reset our targets and then go back again. It seems to be going in the right direction. So I'm just giving an example there of you know, by having those smart goals in black and white, it does give the business quite some focus, and every month it drives you to try and achieve those targets. So that's a diagnosis, trying to understand where you're at and then trying to figure out the goals of the business. And now we're moving on to the navigate. So what does the navigate mean? This is basically creating the guidelines by which you can achieve those goals. So you can say, right, well, we want to double growth in next 12 months. But if you don't tell the marketing department or the sales department what your budget is, then they could go and absolutely, you know, make the business bust because they're going to spend all the money. So you've got to give them guidelines on how to achieve those goals, what they can and can't do. So it could be a case of, look, we don't want to discount. So your target might be to double sales, but you're not allowed to discount. You're not allowed to resell to existing customers. You're not allowed to reduce the RRP if you're a distributor or if you're a brand and you're selling to resellers. You know, we're not allowed to discount. So there's got to be rules by which you can achieve these goals. And it's really important not just to say what you can do. So, right, well, we can go for everybody in the UK, but it's important to also say what you can't do. So you can go to everybody in the UK, but you can't go to like the Isle of Wight or this, that, because delivery costs will make us, you know, skint. So like who to approach, who not to approach, what we can use, what's the budget, what's the target cost per acquisition that we've got to target, what's the target return on ad spend that we've got to go for. These are the kind of things that you've got to lay out before even deciding what actions you can take. So here are the kind of things that you would sort of outline. So, you know, who are we going for? Clearly define who your buyer personas are. The channels. So are we going through, you know, if you're an e-commerce business, again, Amazon, we'll have to use Amazon, Etsy, Google Shopping. Can we sell face-to-face at market stores or this, that, the other? If, you know, do we create leads through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. All these are kind of channels that you can use. It could be cold calling, whatever it may be. Resources. So what resources do you have? So it might be good, saying to the marketing department, right, we're going to increase our marketing qualified leads by 100%, but you've got no additional resources. They're going to go, well, that's not happening, is it? But you could say, right, these are the resources you have internally, but also you've got, you can also use our external resources like a digital marketing agency or whatever it may be. So what resources do they have? Also, I'd probably put like databases in there. Have we got any databases that we can work with? Have we got, have we got any shows, doing exhibitions? Like what resources do we have available to us? How and when to report and review, just make it clear, right, these are the goals we're going to set out and we're going to report on these every month or every quarter. And we're going to review these then, just to make sure everybody's clear on that. And as I mentioned, budgets, return on ad spend, cost per acquisition, whatever it is that you want to make sure that you can spend this money, but you've got to spend it wisely and profitable. To do that, we've got to tick these things off. If you're not achieving these, then it's not profitable, and therefore we can't be doing this. And you've got to, review things and tweak things. Okay, so we know where we're at, we know where we're going, and we know the kind of guidelines and the remits that we have to work within to try and achieve those goals. So now we can actually start talking about tactics, actions, the kind of things that most people talk about all the time. So, what, who, when, and how. So what are you going to do? Who's going to do them? When are they going to do it? And how are they going to do that? That's what you've got to kind of lay out. And you can lay this out in a spreadsheet in a pretty simple format. And again, I'm just talking about actions in terms of digital marketing here. So obviously it'll be different for different departments, or if it's a business strategy that we're talking about. But I'm just talking about, these are just examples of digital marketing. You're talking about SEO, PPC, socials, email strokes, SMS, things like Klaviyo are really popular now, especially with e-commerce, making sure SMS works alongside email automation. CRO, so conversion rate optimization. You can put also in there sort of content and split content up into videos and written and all the rest of it. So these are all the actions that you might be thinking about. And just for those out there watching this, just what I would suggest that people think about when it comes to SEO. Obviously, content is king. Don't just use ChatGPT. Try and use your own insight into it, because as you see there, EAT, EAT. It's all about experience and authority and trust. If you don't use your own experience and highlight that within the content, then the content can be seen as a little bit diluted, and Google might not believe what you have to say. So try and reference a lot of resources and data, and also talk about your own experience. So I think someone said when writing content that you've got to sort of explain to people who the content is for. So when you're writing the content, you say this article is for X and why have I created this, what, and then also how have I created it. So I researched X, Y, and Z, this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. So that is something that Google have said how you should go creating and introducing a piece of content, to actually give it a bit of context, and hopefully they'll believe what it has to say. But I think as a user, people like to hear that, like, who are you, why are you writing it, is this content for me, and how have you actually obtained this insight that I'm about to read. And Google My Business is something often underestimated, ignored. Lots and lots of customers we come across, they don't really touch their GMB. It might be set up, it might have automatically been set up, and there's no reviews on there. The photos are terrible and all the rest of it. But GMB profiles are often placed at the top of Google for a lot of searches, and they go above all the organic searches. So it's a good way to quickly skip all the organic rankings very, very quickly. If you get, it's all pretty much, I think, 90% of it is down to the amount of good reviews that you have. Everything else about replying to the reviews on time, uploading updating your photos are great. But I think it is heavily to do with the amount of good reviews that you have and how high you go up there. So not only will you get up there and get more clicks, anybody that looks you up They might have heard about you. They might have seen some of your advert, but they'll go into Google and have a look at the reviews. What do other people think about you? So it should also increase the conversion rate because people have trust in you. So those are just the three main points I would say about SEO in 2024 and what you should be thinking about. PPC, what are the most important things? Conversion tracking is hugely important and quite tricky at times for everybody involved, agencies and the like. A lot of it because of cookie banners and the legalities of having to get permission to track people and all the rest of it. So there's lots of tools out there to try and improve that. Google Ads are trying to implement ways to report on data, partial data that it has, things like enhanced conversions or consent mode V2, and all these kind of things to make sure that hopefully the data that you've got into tracking back into Google Ads is pretty accurate. Without data, it's really quite hard to understand the performance of all your digital marketing. So conversion tracking is really, really important that you get that done properly. AI and expertise. So this is talking about, PPC, we're typically talking about Google Ads. So Google Ads has come a long way in the last couple of years in terms of AI. The machine learning of the adverts are really quite powerful and effective. But when I'm talking about expertise, you do need to understand how this works and have experience with Google Ads and the new way in which Google Ads run over the last couple of years. Otherwise, if you just let Google do its thing, thinking it's very clever, which it is, but without any real expertise with it, you can waste a lot of money. Okay, so make sure that you do get somebody that knows what they're doing to manage your PPC, especially when there's ad budget involved. Social. So the key thing with socials, you've got to have some advertising budget, especially with Facebook and Instagram. Otherwise, your social posts are not going to be seen by hardly any of your followers, let alone anybody else. So something like 3% of your followers actually get to see your posts organically, which is a real waste of time if you spent years and years building up your followers to thousands of people and yet only 3% of them see your post. So Facebook and Instagram, money-making machines. So do put a small budget away for ads, even if it's just a few quid a day, make a big difference. Reality. So what do I mean by that is creating content that is real. I always use this term, sort of people like to see behind the curtain and see the real you, the real business, the real brand. That's why a lot of brands nowadays, things, I don't know, Gymshark and all these kind of people, a lot of their marketing is around the founder, around the people that work at the business, or influencers that have a close connection with Gymshark people. So it's really trying to see the real them. I think that is really what gets the most engagement. And what do we mean by engagement and why is it so important? The more engagement your posts get, it just means that Facebook and Instagram will show it to more people, and therefore the brand awareness is greater. And if people are sharing your content, then obviously that's that social proof, and people will buy into your brand more if people are sharing it and commenting it positively. And the buying process, just make sure when you're creating and scheduling content is that you're creating content for each of the three buying the three stages within the buying process. So brand awareness, which is obviously really important in social media. So that's you're trying to get engaging content, and then you've got consideration. So that's when people are thinking about a particular problem they have, or trying to find a particular solution or an aspiration or something. They're actually thinking about it. Then you're giving them content that kind of educates them more about that particular solution, problem, need, want, whatever it may be. And then last and finally, probably 1 in every 5 posts, you're going to create something for decision stage. So someone's right, I definitely want this product. Who do I buy it from? I definitely want this service. Who do I buy it from? Then you've got to deliver them content as to why they should be buying from you and not to anybody else, because you've been established longer than everybody else. So you're more trustworthy because you got a free trial on, because you give them free returns, because of these are the kind of pieces of content that will convince people that they should trust and buy from you rather than the competition. So mix up the content, okay? Emails and SMS, okay? So, really for emails and SMS marketing to be working, you've got to have some decent data. So it's not just quantity, it's quality, and trying to have as much information on that data as possible. So it's not just the name and email address. It's what kind of person is this? Are they a customer? Are they a lead? Are they an ex-customer? You know, what's their date of birth? So you can send them out a restaurant, you know, birthday reminder kind of thing. So the more data you have and making sure that they've opted in and all the rest of it, the more effective your email and SMS can be. Automate. So, you know, try and save a lot of time. If you've got a lot of data, then making sure that you can automate it based on certain triggers, like somebody's birthday, like somebody has just purchased from you, or somebody hasn't purchased from you for 6 months. Can we automate an email that goes out again? Okay. So friends, I'm not sure why I've got friends in here. I've got to be quite honest. It'll probably come back to me in a short while. But conversion rate optimization. So Clarity. It's coming back to me. What is Clarity? Microsoft Clarity is a tool similar to Hotjar. A lot of people will have heard of things like Hotjar. Hotjar is something where people, you know, you install it onto your website and you'll be able to go into Hotjar and then you'll start to see heat maps. So where are people kind of active on your home page or a particular page or a landing page, whatever it may be. You can also record users' use of the website. So you can see the page scrolling up and down, what they're clicking on and all the rest of it. So you can understand from the user's behavior what they like, what they don't like about your website. Do they get confused about certain things on your website? Typical things would be like a checkout of an e-commerce website. You know, how do they find it complicated? Can they find how to, you know, get the shipping in? Do they know how to where they find the discount code and all this kind of stuff? So you would hope with the kind of platforms like Shopify that they'd have nailed this kind of landing page and checkout as good as possible. But Clarity is a free version of Hotjar, basically. I'm not going to say whether it's better or worse. I'm just saying it is a free version of it, and I found it really quite useful. Gives you some good kind of KPI insights into, you know, how frustrated people can be on your site and all the rest of it. So Google Page Speed Insights. I'm sure everybody's probably familiar with this. They probably get screenshots and what have you from Google Page Insights showing a score out of 100 for mobile, out of 100 for desktop. What is Google's kind of rating of your website in terms of its usability? And it kind of scores it based on, you know, how quickly and how well does the page load when you're on mobile and on desktop. So really do try your best to try and get that as good as possible, but don't try and aim for 100 out of 100. There are websites out there where you can compare your score to other people going for a particular search term, because this does have a very slight effect and influence on your SEO rankings. I'm not going to say how much. I don't think it's great in any way, but it should improve your conversion rate because people should have a better experience whilst on your website. So try and improve that as best as possible. And USPs and CTAs, so unique sales propositions. So things like on e-commerce, you'll probably see in the top navigation, you'll probably things like, you know, free delivery, you know, 1 million customers, try before you buy, or whatever it may be. So what are the USPs of your business? Try and make sure that you have them throughout the site, not just on the homepage, throughout the site. And usually the header is the best place to have them. Call to actions, make sure that you do have a clear call to action throughout your website on every page. And you might want to have 2 call to actions per page. Why 2? 1 call to action for those that are ready to purchase. So it could be buy now, you know, free trial now, or it could be for those people that are not at the decision-making stage of the buying process. They might be at the consideration stage of the buying process, and they're just thinking about it. Like, is this software for us? Do we need this software? I'm not sure. Then it could be a download a guide. So at least we're trying to capture their email so they can then be fed into our email marketing and lead nurturing. And we can also use their email email for, you know, Facebook targeting and Google ad targeting and all that kind of stuff. So call to actions, really useful on your website. Have a good think about those. And again, just make sure that you are reporting, reviewing these on a regular basis, you know, probably monthly on the agreed KPIs, so that we try and do this with clients, is making sure what is important to you. You know, reach, traffic through to the website, conversions on the website, which conversions are important to you. You know, I've seen going onto websites, they've had key conversions as or key events, which used to be called conversions, as time spent on site more than 10 seconds. Now, if you ask me, that isn't really going to grow a business. That is just a KPI, but it's not something that I would report on. That isn't a goal for the business to people to stay on the website for more than 10 seconds. That's just a KPI. So making sure that you agree on what are we tracking, what are we going to see as success, and therefore everybody can work together to achieve those. And to summarize, two most important things: positioning statement. I really do think that's important. I do think that makes a big difference, just from as a business, understanding where they sit in the market and be proud of where they sit and what they're good at, and being able to then communicate that within all their messaging, I think is really important. And then the DNA. So do remember the simple strategy DNA: diagnose, navigate, and act. That should set you on good stead. And why, again, is the strategy so important? I believe it is the North Star that kind of directs your whole team every day of the year, and to make sure that they are going in the right direction and the same direction throughout the year, and they are less likely to veer off and go into some random directions based on some odd piece of information or a bit of feedback in the data and what have you. You've got to stick to the strategy so that everybody's working towards the same goal, and you will ultimately see success. So for those that haven't come across our website and the few freebies that we have, you can go on to our website /free-review, and you can get a free video review that's going to be done by yours truly. And also you could request a digital marketing health check. So all you've got to do is fill out a form there with a bunch of questions, maybe 20 questions, multiple choice. You select the one that is most relevant to you and your business, and we'll come back with a report to say, your score out of 100 and where we think you may be able to improve on these. And then you might want to do that health check in 12 months' time to see, has your score improved, and continually develop on that. So I hope this has been helpful, and come back next month for our next refresher.